Hi everyone, Laura Volpes here and happy World Cardmaking Day. Today I'm going to share with you how to create a bright and cheerful card with lots of fun techniques, so let's get started. The first technique for today is to create your own DIY pattern paper, and this one here is going to be super colorful and cheerful. I have my images mounted in my Misty and I'm going to stamp them with Scrapbook.com premium hybrid black ink on some Neenah solar white cardstock. I used a die by Fawn to die cut the cardstock, and the stamp set that I'm using is the Sweet Stuff by Heffy Doodle, and everything is listed and linked in the description box down below, so make sure to check that out. In order to get that nice pattern paper effect, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift the images and I'm also going to rotate them a little bit so that the result is random. And another thing that will help you get that DIY pattern paper effect is to stamp your images so that some of them hang off of your panel and it will look like you have trimmed this from a larger pattern paper sheet. Alright, I went ahead and I stamped the images until I covered the entire die cut rectangle, and then I went ahead and started coloring them. For my coloring today, I'm using TriBlend markers by Spectrum Noir. These are alcohol markers and have the cool feature that you basically get 3 colors in one marker, which means you don't have to do any thinking in terms of what markers to pick to get your shading right. You just have to sit down, pick one marker and do the coloring. So basically you get a lighter color, an intermediate color, and then a darker one for your shadows. And the way in which I find it easiest to blend with these markers is to coat the entire area with the lightest marker, then go in and start adding a little bit of shading with the intermediate one, and then as a last step I'm going to go in with the darkest color in the marker and I'm going to create my shadows. If you want to have a little bit more contrast, or if you feel that your images are not blending as nicely as you wanted them to, you can always go in with a second layer and get that really dark contrast which makes your images pop. Because I want this to be a super bright and happy card, I went with a rainbow palette for my background, and I also wanted to say that yes, of course, this did take a little bit to color, so if you're not into coloring very much, a quicker alternative would be, for example, to white emboss your images with embossing powder and then just do a rainbow ink blend on this background, and the result will be beautiful and as happy and cheerful as this one. Now, I'm not going to show you the entire coloring process, but I did want to share with you each color combination once so that you know which markers you should reach for in case you want to recreate this card. For the sticks of the cake pops, I used some cool grays, and for the cakey bits of the cake pops, I used some warm browns, and my coloring is done. It didn't take too long because these markers make it quite fast, but as I said, if you're not into coloring, you could do an ink blended background with some white heat embossing, for example. I decided to add some blink to this background with my Scrapbook.com clear glitter brush pen, and this is going to add some very beautiful sparkle to the whole project. The next step is to work on the intermediate panel, and this is going to be the second technique for today, which is very easy. It is just applying some glitter paste through a stencil. The one that I'm using here is the Bold Stripes by Scrapbook.com, which is a great basic stencil to have. And the reason why I love glitter pastes so much is that they are a really mess-free way to add some beautiful shimmer and texture to your projects. To hold the stencil in place, I'm using my Make Art Station, and I am first applying the paste with a media spatula by Tonic Studios, and then I'm going to use my Scrapbook.com scraper to even out the surface and check out how much product I am able to save. I can put it back into the jar, and then once I lift off the stencil, I'm going to be able to see all that beautiful sparkle from the glitter paste. The one that I used here is by Tonic Studios, but another great product is the Thermal Web Glitz Glitter Gel in the iridescent color, and I will link to that in the description box down below as well for you to check out. The panel that I am working on right here will be the base of my card, and the technique that I'm using is ink blending. This is very popular, I love it, and today I'm going to use some brushes to do the ink blending. I could have die cut everything directly out of some colored cardstock, but I really like the brushed effect that you get if you use these brushes without trying to blend your colors too much. It adds a very nice texture, and in order to add even more texture, I am using the old trick of spraying my Distress Oxide background with some clean water and dabbing off the excess. The Distress Oxide color that I used is Picked Raspberry, and here I'm adding a little bit of extra shimmer to this background with a Spectrum Noir sparkle pot. Next, I started working on my sentiment, and for that I used some of the new dies by Scrapbook.com. This set here is called Inspirational Life Sentiments, and it's really gorgeous. I find that the best way to adhere these die cuts to any project really is to use double-sided adhesive sheets, which basically turn your die cut sentiments into stickers. You basically want to back your cardstock with those double-sided adhesive sheets, and then you can go ahead and run everything through your die cutting machine with your favorite sentiment dies. You can see how gorgeous and delicate these ones are and how easy it is to adhere everything with these double-sided adhesive sheets. Really mess-free and straightforward. I completed the sentiment with the word is. This was part of one of my lawn fawn stamp sets from my stash, and I stamped it with Picked Raspberry Distress Oxide so that it would match with my ink blended background there on my card base. I adhered all the panels together using some double-sided tape, and then I am going to coat the sentiment with glossy accents. This will dry clear and will add a glossy coating to the sentiment and will help it stand out against the colorful background that we created. As a last step, I added some Nuvo drops pretty much all over the entire background, filling in the areas that were a little bit empty, and if you want them to look a little bit more like enamel dots, you can do what I'm doing here. You can take a little jar, it can be embossing powder or anything you want, and then you're basically going to hit it with your card, and this will flatten out the Nuvo drops like you can see here. Here's a look at the final result. I really enjoyed creating this card and I hope you liked this video too. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite card making technique is. Thank you all for watching and happy World Card Making Day!